So I just saw Iron Man. So I just saw Black Panther, and it was good. Black Panther brought a lot of different stuff to the table conceptually and world-building-wise, but it also seemed more like a remade Iron Man. It captured a lot of the same core elements, but it did provide a different story. This isn't to say that it's a shot-for-shot remake, but it definitely has similarities to the core of both films. Then again, that's what Marvel movies do, more or less. The studios have a lot of control, and while the most recent films, such as this one and Thor Ragnarok, show that Disney is more willing to allow directors an increasing amount of creative control, they still feel very familiar each time you see a new one. It's not the worst thing, but it's not the best thing either. I enjoyed this movie, it was fun, it engaged me, and with the exception of the final act, which I'll talk about in a bit, I wasn't really bored or annoyed. But when I look at this movie critically, I see the problems, and this movie definitely has some. Now, before I start ripping into this movie, I do think it did a lot of things good. I really like Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. I feel like he did an excellent job of portraying T'Challa. Lupita Nyong'o also did a stellar job, as did Michael B. Jordan, and as expected, Andy Serkis was amazing. I seriously don't get how this man doesn't have any Oscars yet. He's one of the best actors of our time, and it's ridiculous he isn't recognized as such. I mean, seriously, Serkis has helmed a trilogy based entirely around him playing a fucking ape. A fucking ape, and it's phenomenal acting, but he still isn't recognized. The casting and acting was all around very solid. All the fight scenes with material outfits were really well done. The soundtrack was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. It was very different compared to the other Marvel movies. The ritual scenes were nicely choreographed as well, and the Korean fight scene was the best one of the entire film. Now, that was kind of disappointing considering it happens in the first 40 minutes of the film's runtime, but it was a phenomenal scene. Like I said, it was good, but it did have quite a few problems. CGI in this movie is rampant, and for most of it, it isn't that bad, but when you get to the fight scenes, particularly at the end of this movie, which take place in large open areas full of CGI, you can really tell, and it's frustrating. It really takes you out of it. In particular, there's this one scene in the movie when Chadwick Boseman is fighting in the pool beneath a waterfall, and they show everyone on the cliff of cheering and clapping, and it basically looks like this scene from when George Lucas lost his fucking mind and quote-unquote remastered his old films. It's just sad. It shows so many great things in such an amazing world, but then it just, at the end, it just slowly grinds and breaks down until it's just this monotonous CGI everywhere fight. It reminds me of Wonder Woman in that sense, because Wonder Woman, it had a lot of practical effects. It didn't have much CGI until you get to the last 10-20 minutes of the movie, and then Wonder Woman becomes a horrible film with absolutely abysmal choreography. This movie at least had good choreography. Wonder Woman did not. Wonder Woman really was bad for the last 20 minutes or so, because it just relied so much on this massive amount of CGI that just wasn't refined. And I'm not sure what happened during production, if maybe they ran out of costuming budget, because the costumes are phenomenal, and they decided to take from the CGI budget, but it was a mistake, and it's why the final act is just so bad. It takes place entirely outdoors, except for the last 10 minutes, which takes place inside a CGI cave where Black Panther and Killmonger fight each other, and it looks really sloppy. It doesn't look like the ending of Ragnarok, where it relied a lot on CGI, and compared to Ragnarok, this doesn't execute it well at all. I really like the stuff they added to the suit, where it takes energy and it expels it when it gets hit, but it was so much CGI, and all the jumps, I mean, they had to use CGI first of all. There's no way they could have gotten around it, but they missed the mark so badly. They could have done it so well, and they just didn't. Story-wise, it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but they messed up so badly in the final act, it just really soured it for me. And as disappointed by that as I was, the climax to this film is also rather lackluster. Michael B. Jordan does provide some good dialogue, but it doesn't save it from devolving into lots of fighting, as I said, in a CGI environment with too few practical effects. And the ending, while it does look somewhat nice, it is, again, it's the poorly used CGI they use here, and they clearly were strapped, but they should have used more practical effects if they were this strapped. And I understand practical effects cost, all of it costs money, but there's plenty of films where they had a smaller budget, but were able to still execute this all very well. Take Jurassic World, for instance. Their budget was $50 million less, but they were still able to create a mostly CGI environment, CGI island, CGI city, and CGI animals. And despite all that, Black Panther isn't horrible. It takes you out of the world in some scenes, but it pulls you into its world for the majority of it. If you like Marvel movies, you're going to like this. I think most people will like it, frankly, but I don't think it's the revolutionary film people keep saying it is. It has good characters, it has memorable characters, yes, but at the end of the day, it's just another Marvel movie. It does what it sets out to do, and it does it well for the most part, and while I personally think this is a very different type of superhero movie, and I am very excited to hopefully see Marvel let their directors have more control when they make the films, and have more of a, similar to how Iron Man was, where it's a very character-focused thing, and it's not so much like the old Batman and Superman movies. And to me, those are all, they're very different than superhero movies now, beyond the fact that the suit design and all that wasn't that great.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
But they focused on Batman and Superman less so than Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, which is what Iron Man did do differently. Iron Man focused on Tony Stark, which is what Black Panther did. Black Panther focused on T'Challa and his family. But there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, that was the wrong way to focus on the characters entirely. Horrible movie. I hate it. Why was it made? Why? Anyway, that's all I really have to say, so thanks for watching. I'd love to hear what you thought of the movie, or my review, in the comments section, and if you'd like to see more reviews like this in the future, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Hey, so I changed some stuff on my Patreon, and some of my rewards have been changed, and one of the new ones is an audible thank you. So, thank you to Patreon supporters Anonymous and Matt Porter, I appreciate it. Why?